All right, so tonight we are going to do a lecture on adding digital blood into a shot. Okay, so this is... Did we shoot this uncompressed? Or did we shoot this on the Ninja? This shot? I thought we shot this on the Ninja because it is an MPEG-4, so that means that it's compressed. And we don't want to work on a compressed shot. We want to work on the original footage. I mean, we can use this one for lecture, but when we do the final one, it has to be the original footage. Just FYI. So you always want to work from the original footage, if at all possible. Yeah, so that's my only concern with exporting stuff. Like, you want to make sure you're using the original content. I mean, it's fine. We can do it that way. Like, you could do, if you do an export, you want to do it as like ProRes Quad 4, because then it's going to be a full resolution, full file, but it'll be a heavy file. Oh, okay, weird. So this has the original Ninja file.
So it just had to do the dependencies and copy everything over, and then you would have everything.
Yeah, so let me just, I'm going to pause this recording for a moment. So we're going to pull in the compressed version of this just to start working on it right now. We're going to take a look at the shot, see what we got.
Control my computer real quick.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Oh, wait, don't close. Go back to observe mode. You should be in good shape now.
Yup, thank you.
Cool beans. All right, so in this shot, we want to add some digital blood and gore in and around this body that's sitting on the ground. So you can kind of see what that looks like. We've got an actor that walks into the frame, which is going to give us a little bit of a challenge at the front end in terms of making sure that we mask this correctly and make it look perfect. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need some blood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the interwebs and we're going to find some blood that we can use for the shot. Let's just go to Google. No, we don't need any drippy blood or moving blood. We just need some blood that kind of looks like it's on the ground, like underneath him, maybe some on the wall, like maybe you got shot or something and there's like a streak on the wall behind him. Could be pretty cool to do. Blood elements for blood elements. We'll just do that. Blood elements, images. Let's go VFX and see if that helps us a little bit. And of course we want our blood to not be stupid looking, so we want to find something that's going to work well. Maybe I go free blood elements VFX. See if we can't find something that will work. Maybe we go free blood pools. Ah, here we go. That one's kind of cool looking. That's kind of cool looking too. That's a good reference image right there. Ooh, there we go. Squirt, splatter, oil. That's kind of neat looking. Come now. You'd think there'd be more. Alright, let's see. Well, I think this is a good start right here. We can probably work with this a little bit. Let's go right click and open link in new tab. And is this a YouTube video? Oh, goody. Is this motion? Is there motion with this? Okay, let's try to find something that's going to work a little bit better than that. We don't really need a splatter per se. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Find some stuff that doesn't look stupid. pretty cool looking. Yeah, like this is kind of the look that we're probably going to go for. Something that's darker, maybe a little bit more dried up looking. Let's see. Should we do this one with the spoon in it? Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we could do this. We could kind of create our own pool if we wanted to. We don't necessarily have to use an image. Ooh, this is good, but it's really tiny. Let's go up here and go more. And look for something that's a little larger in terms of size. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That's pretty good. Hemorrhage blood pool. That looks pretty cool. All right. Sure. It's $29. It's actually, no, these are awesome. These are so these are for working with blood on set so that you don't actually have to pour real blood. So these are like gelatin blood effects pads basically. So you just throw them down on the ground next to whoever you need to have blood underneath, and it just looks like a pool of blood. Then you can go over and pick it right up off the floor, and nobody gets wet and nobody gets gross or dirty. These are actually really cool. I've worked with these things before, but let's see if we can't just maybe take this image and work with it a little bit. All right, I'm just going to do a screen cap of this, and we'll start with this and see how it goes. So I'm screen capping this blood hemorrhage pool thing. I'm going to grab a couple of these other ones too. So screen capping is Shift Command 4, and then you can kind of select what you want to use. You can select the area that you want to copy. So we're just going to copy this part right here. Here we go, and it should save it as a PNG file or something on your desktop, which is perfect. Blood clots, blood pools. This is kind of good stuff.
Think about mine somehow.
Mimicking injuries generally experienced by women during pregnancy. All right. They look great. There's, of course, other blood effects and things like that you can get from, like Video Copilot, I think, has a bunch of them. Let's see if there's maybe something else. Foam rubber acrylic props. Yep, those are really handy, too. I was just going to see if there's any more. Go, like, large blood pool. And then it's just like papers about blood pool. Oh, that's a good little reference image right there too. So we're gonna try it out with these couple little assets that we have to see kind of what we can build up here. But if we needed to, we could kind of come in here with some solids and things like that and create our own blood pool around DW. But we'll start with this and see what happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and import those two screen caps that I grabbed. So firstly, I'm going to rename them real quickly so that I can use them effectively. So we'll just call this Blood Pool 1. Hey, Sean. Recording. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna import some additional blood effects, but we're going to start with these and see what happens. So we're going to import these blood pools, and then we're going to just start playing around a little bit with the look of them using blending modes and things like that. My disk cache is full. Let's go ahead and change that, shall we? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and purge that real quick. Holy buckets. All right, so purged our cache. We've got our DW shot here. I'm just going to start just by putting these blood pools on the composition and playing with some blending modes. So because we've got white on there, it's probably going to behoove us to use like a multiply. That's going to do a pretty good blending mode. The nice thing about using the blending modes is any kind of like shadow changes or anything like that will play on the blood bladder itself. So you can see like over here, when it's in the darker area, the blood gets darker. When it's in a lighter area, the blood gets lighter. So it actually takes into consideration some of the reflections and textures and things like that that are underneath the image. So if we're putting this kind of like down here on DW, I'm going to put this blood in 3D space so that I can kind of rotate it around and find a happy kind of perspective for it. So I think that kind of works right there. And I'm just going to kind of rotate this around a little bit till I kind of get something that I like. And we can use multiple splatters too to kind of make this look a little more legit. This one's pretty weak sauce, but we're gonna go with it. So you can see, like, the thing I like about the blending modes is it picks up the texture of the floor right here. It grabs the shadows that are around DW. If we scrub the video around a little bit, you can see that if the shadows interact with the blood pool, you're gonna see that color change. So blending modes is gonna work pretty well for kind of making this blood go and stick where we want it to stick. So I'm going to kind of put this pool underneath DW. So I'm kind of just trying to find a good perspective for this so that it looks like it's part of the scene. And then we're going to kind of want to come in here and create some masks around our blood once we kind of get it locked in place. I'm going to grab this other blood pool one that we have, and I'm going to drop that on and kind of do the same workflow with it. So I'm going to go into the modes, and I'm going to set it to multiply again. And same thing, I'm going to put this in 3D space so that I can find a nice perspective for it. The nice thing about this shot is it is a static shot, which is really helpful for kind of placing our blood where we want it to be and not having to track everything in the shot to make it look good. Okay, so we've got a couple of blood pools right now. We've got a couple of options here. So we could mask them individually. Oh, that's cool. Yep, Connor's stretching the blood around too. So one thing that I'm seeing over on Connor's screen right now as he's working is he's actually playing with the scales of this thing. So he's stretching the blood left, right, up, down, kind of trying to find a happy place for it, which is a good idea too. That can help make the stuff look more realistic. So we've got a couple options here. We can individually mask each individual blood layer, or if we wanted to, once we've kind of got them set up, and I'm just gonna test this to see what happens. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-comp this. So I'm gonna pre-compose this, and I'm gonna call this blood pools. I'm going to say move all attributes to new composition, adjust composition duration to time span selected, and open the new composition. So that gives us our new composition with the two blood pools right on top of each other. Then we just need to reiterate that we want this to be a multiply. And now we can just do one mask rather than having to do multiple masks for multiple layers. We could just come in here and do one mask over the top of DW, on top of DW's legs, so we can go around his legs, mask that all out, and then it's going to look really nice. So that's what I'm going to start doing here. Note that, what's up?
They're up on.
They're ready to go. Sweet. Okay.
Action essentials.
Sweet. Okay, we'll pull those in a little bit here. All right. So note that I have the blood pools pre-comp selected, and I'm just shutting off the visibility so that I can see DW's feet and legs, and I can create an effective mask around those, and we can kind of work the shot, and we'll flip the visibility on and off as we work just to kind of see what's happening with the mask. So it looks like the areas that I really need to concentrate on are right here above the knee to kind of all the way over here against the wall. So I'm going to shut this off, and I'm just going to start creating a simple mask around DW's legs. So I'm going to punch in here pretty close. I'm working at full resolution at about 200%, and I'm just going to come in here and start masking this thing. So we're going to have to do some tweaking with this mask. So when we're doing this mask, one of the things we need to be really careful of is you notice that the edge of his legs, if we look at this at 100%, it's not a harsh, hard line, right? So when we do this mask, we're going to adjust the feathering and things like that to make sure that it has the proper appearance. We're going to play with like the expansion and contraction a little bit so that we can make sure that it fits perfectly. So as we're creating this mask, one of my kind of recommendations is you kind of set the mask line right in between the edge of the blurred line, right? So if this edge is a little bit blurry, overlap just a little bit, and then we can fine tune the expansion and contraction to make the mask work the best way possible. So I'm going to start kind of up here, and I'm using the pen tool because you want these curves to work as well. So I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm going to just slowly mask around DW's legs. Drawing out the curves and just trying to make this mask as good as I can straight out of the gate. And we got kind of a bump right there. And I'm working pretty close in terms of detail. So if I see any little details that look like bumps or, you know, changes in the clothing or whatever, this should be a pretty detailed mask straight away. We'll try to kind of keep this one right in here. Got to his giant foot. For our shoot, so that sucks.
That's why he asked me when he's getting paid. Right after the Saturday.
Wait, has he not been paid yet?
No.
Okay, I'll talk to Rich about that.
I talked to him today.
What did
He
Rich?
just put it in.
Oh, okay.
He told me it takes like a week or two.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so again, I'm just working this kind of bit by bit. I'm using command, control, option, all the different kind of control surfaces to make this mask nice and precise straight away. Obviously, sorry, go ahead.
Using control alt and command.
So option's going to give you some options on like pulling the different handles around. So controlling the curves of the different parts of the mask. Right, so like you can see right here, I've kind of pulled these control surfaces around so that you can control the handle and create complex curves with the different handles.
The command deletes it.
Command gives you the ability to add points or remove points. And you do want to make sure that if you accidentally click off of your mask, that you continue to kind of work forward and have the mask selected when you want to continue working on a specific mask. This is looking pretty good, and I'm probably going a little overboard with the detail, but I'm doing that because if we're going to look at some different assets, so once we get this mask built, we can take different assets and drop them into that blood pools pre-comp, and it will automatically update, and we don't have to do additional masking to make this work. So just continuing to mask around DW's feet. Trying to be as precise as possible. Things like shadows, you actually want to leave the shadows in there. So it looks like there's a shadow right here. I'm just going to kind of mask around the base of his pant leg here. Keep this nice and detailed. There's some shadow in here, so I'm just going to kind of mask in the shadowed areas, trying to keep it nice and clean. Adjusting as I'm going. And I'm holding the space bar to move the screen, by the way. So whenever I get to a point where I need to move the screen, I just grab the space bar and then the little hand pops up and I can keep on cruising. Okay, coming around the knee now. So this is kind of a little on the soft side right here.
You said go
Continuing.
with the shadow?
Sorry?
You said go with the shadow, or do you
So when I went around the shadowed area, like in his foot, I kind of split the difference, and then over here I kind of like follow the line of the pant leg
Okay.
and mask in right behind the line of the pant leg. And we'll just keep on cruising here, and it looks like I'm pretty close to the edge of my mask, so I'm gonna about get this to the point where I can wrap it up. And then go over here and click this in. Alright, so we have a mask set up. We'll take a peek at this and see how it looks. So we'll turn the blood pools back on, and you can see right away, well, that's really not going to work, right? So all we really need to do here is just invert the mask, and now we've got DW kind of masked out pretty well. You can kind of tell right now there's a little bit of a line around his knee. The edges just look really harsh and sharp. So we're going to work to kind of soften those up a little bit. So I'm going into the mask options, and we're going to feather this a couple pixels. So I'm just going to go give it like a 3 pixel feather, which you can see nicely softens the edge around the knees, which is good, and the legs. So it's looking a little bit better right now. The other thing that I think we can do is we can just test the expansion a little bit. So I just did a -1 pixel expansion, and now you can see we've got a nice clean edge all around the entire bottom of DW. So he is nicely sitting in a pool of blood right now. A couple other things just to kind of keep in mind is, the footage that we're using right now is compressed, and you can kind of see what that looks like. So if we come back up in here at like 400% and look at this, you can see there's a lot of compression artifacting. There's some soft spots in certain areas of the footage. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've got this footage downloaded, I'm going to replace or add the shot that we're using back in here. So I'm going to replace this footage with the file. Navigate to the file we're using, click open, and now we can kind of see the difference between the uncompressed and the compressed. So you can see right away there's a lot of detail that's lost. The image, you guys probably need to see. So this is the uncompressed shot. And this is the compressed shot. So you can see right away there's a lot more softness in areas of like large similar colors. This is again why you want to make sure you're working on the highest quality footage that you can. And fortunately these shots matched up, so we don't even really need to worry about the MPEG. We can work on the original footage right now, which is nice. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna back off the feathering just a little bit to see if I can make this look a little bit better. And it looks like there's some areas like around the toe over here that I might want to adjust a little bit in terms of the masking. So I'm gonna punch in here, and I'm gonna come in and kind of adjust this. So I really want to only adjust this little part right here. Make sure this looks right. Take a peek at that. You can see there's this kind of like little spot right there that I feel doesn't look quite right. So I'm just gonna, don't want to move the whole thing. So when you're trying to grab just a couple of points, you can use the command tool. So the pen tool will look like this. If you turn it to the command tool, you can grab certain aspects or certain parts of the mask and then adjust them as needed. Oh, that might actually be the edge of the blood pool itself in the previous file. So let's take a look at that real quick. And I'm actually going to grab this second blood pool and scoot it in a little bit. And I bet that's going to fix our problem. And it did. Okay, cool. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So because we've got an image that's got a little softness to it and a little bit of noise to it, those are probably things that we would want to additionally do to our blood pools, because our blood pools are really clean. They're shot with a high resolution DSLR. They don't really have any of the noise that's inherent in the video, and they don't really have like the softer edges that you're seeing in the video. So those are some things we kind of want to account for. So on my blood pools layer, I'm going to try a lens blur. So camera lens blur is a high quality blur that you can use to kind of create blurs that are inherent to what real lenses would produce. So there's a lot more options in a lens blur than say like a fast blur or something like that. You could probably do this with a fast blur and be just fine. But the lens blur is going to give you some more options. So you can go as far as like what the iris shape looks like. I believe we shot this on the 24mm Rokinon lens. Were we shooting the Roki on that day?
Never touched a broken arm lens.
No, that's what, because I don't like those. So this is, was it the baddest?
No, that was this, or this, what day was this? This was the third day, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that would have been the baddest.
Okay. And we don't need much, obviously. We need very, very little blur here. So I'm going to start out with just a 1 pixel blur. I'm going to go to like 1.5, and we're going to see how that rolls. That looks pretty good. So it softens the image up a little bit. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some noise to this so that we can do the best that we can to kind of mimic the effect of the noise on the video. So let's go to noise. So I'm just going to add a regular 32-bit noise, and we're going to play with it a little bit to see what we can get. So amount of noise. And at this point, I'm going to solo the blood. And I'm going to add the noise in a little bit here to see what it looks like. And it looks like we probably want to use something where we can control the size of the noise. Is it fractal noise? It's not fractal noise, is it? Maybe I did just use noise. Grain. Let's use grain instead. So add grain actually gives us some more options. So when you use the add grain plugin, it's going to have a preview set on it. It's this little white box that you see right here. So wherever that box is where you're going to actually be previewing the grain. I'm going to go ahead and turn that preview off and just set it to final output so that I can see what the noise looks like on my blood. And you can control, the nice thing about the add grain effect is you can control the intensity, the size, the softness, the aspect ratio. There's a lot of control options for you so that you can kind of dial the noise in and make it look good. Another option that you have is if you know you're going to be doing stuff with the visual effects and you might need noise, is you can roll noise in the camera that you're shooting on. So like set your camera up, put the lens cap on the lens, and then just roll black, and you'll get the inherent digital noise that's in the image straight away. So you could just do a noise print of the camera and then use that to add noise to whatever visual effects you're adding over the top of your footage, so that you can get noise that matches what you want exactly. So I'm going to kind of solo and unsolo this just to get an idea of what this grain is kind of looking like. And it looks to me like we might have even gone a little too far with our lens blur. I'm going to go back to 1 pixel for the blur. And I'm going to increase the intensity of the noise a little bit here. It starts to pick up a little bit. Now it's starting to look like it's actually part of the frame, which is really nice. It's exactly what we want. Okay, cool beans. One other thing, because I'm working on a single screen here, and I've got very little screen real estate over here to kind of see my image. One thing that you can do to kind of give yourself a little more working room is you can hit Command 0, which will hide your project menu. So Command 0 one more time. You can see that brings up your project right there. Hit it again. It gives you a little bit more screen real estate to play with, so you can kind of see your whole shot. So we've got our blood kind of laid into its place now. We've got grain on it. We've added some noise to it, or some blur to it to kind of make it match the inherent blur in the image. And it's starting to look pretty good. So there's probably some other like minor detail things that we could do. Like we could probably add maybe a little blood on the bottom of his feet or something like that, just to like really flesh the shot out and make it look a little bit more natural and organic. I mean, it's pretty static right now, but that's okay.
She cross the frame at all?
Yeah. All right, so we've got this great big shape here, and we need to mask this off so that when our actress crosses the frame, we don't have blood pools on top of her. It's supposed to be behind her. So we have to go in and mask this out. So there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could try this in Mocha. I think Mocha will be a little bit more work than it's necessarily worth. We can also just do this with normal masks and try it with normal masks and see how that goes. So generally the way that works best when you have complex shapes and things like this that you're masking is to do them a chunk at a time, right? Rather than trying to do the whole shape and having all of these nodes to work with, we do it kind of maybe one leg at a time or one part of the object at a time, right? So as she crosses frame, we have this, you know, her leg and this bag that are kind of in the front. And she takes a step and that's pretty much out of frame. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with that big leg shape, and I'm going to start with it right in the middle of the frame, and I'm going to create a duplicate of the original footage, and we're going to mask the original footage on top of the video, and then we're going to blend it using the feathering effects and things like that we were using in the other shot. And we're going to let this video ride right over the top and see how it goes. So we're going to start kind of in the middle, and I'm just kind of double checking to see what I'm going to need to do here. So I basically want to start so that I have the object fully in view, so I can see all the parts of the object that I need to mask. And I'm just going to take one more hard look at this without the cover on so I can see how far we need to take it. So this is kind of the last frame for the front leg object. And we don't really need to go very high. We just go right up to about here, and we only need to mask like the bag around here and the top of the leg right there. So we don't want to do more work than we have to, unless we're planning on adding like the blood streak in the back. So if we do want to add the blood streak in the back, it makes sense to just do the whole shape, so that you can add whatever you want in the background, and if you decide you want to change your mind or put more stuff in there or add stuff to the walls, all this masking is already done. If we were just going to do the blood spot on the floor, which we're going to do for this lecture, we just do the pieces that we need to do and nothing else. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on this bag shape. So we'll do the bag shape first, and then we'll go in and we'll do the leg shape, and it'll kind of be a bunch of masks together, and we'll simplify the workload so that we don't have to do a million nodes at once, and we'll break it down into pieces. And it's kind of the same thing for Mocha. Like if you're doing a Roto and Mocha and it's a person's body, you do it piece by piece. Do one hand, then do the other hand, then do the forearm, then do the upper arm, then do like the shoulder, chest, torso, then maybe do the neck, then the head, and do it piece by piece by piece by piece, so that you can track those smaller individual pieces, and it will lessen the workload that you have to do in post. All right, so we're going to start with the bag, and I'm going to start with the bag kind of right here where it's the most visible, and I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room on the bottom as I go. So I'm going to turn that top layer back on, make sure that you have the layer that you want to mask selected, and we're going to go in and we're going to start working this bag shape. So fortunately the shape is pretty simple, so I'm going to try to keep my mask nice and simple, and I'm going to do kind of the same thing that I was doing before. with my mask where I'm trying to kind of keep it right on the edge of the blur. So you're kind of splitting the blur in half with the mask. And this is getting a little detailed down here, so we want to make sure we get in here and get the detail that we need. So you can see I'm kind of just coming right around this shape, right at the edge of the blurriness. And that's about as high as I think I need to go. In fact, I went a little too high, so I'm going to back it up a couple of nodes, and then I'm going to come right over this bag, and then the interior of the bag can be pretty simple. Like, this doesn't need to be very complex at all. So I'm going to come down here and get this as close as I can. I'm going to leave some nodes on the bottom, some extra nodes just in case, because I know that this bag moves around a little bit, so I'm giving myself some additional nodes that I can work on animating. Okay, so we're ready to kind of start animating this mask. So we're gonna go in here and we're gonna go into the mask itself. We're gonna set a keyframe on the shape that we're using, and we're gonna try to see if we can use the mask tracker to help track this mask a little bit. So if you go into the mask, or into the tracker dialog over on the right hand side, the nice thing about the new versions of After Effects is they actually have kind of a mocha-ish thing built into them where you can put a mask around an object and you can have it track that object through the scene, and you can kind of adjust the keyframes as you go. I know this isn't going to work straight out of the gate just because I've used it enough to know, but it's a good way to at least help get through the rotoing process a little bit quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to step through a frame by frame. So I'm going to click forward and it's going to adjust the mask. And that actually looks pretty decent. We need to adjust a few little things over here. So I'm going to come in and adjust my mask on the bottom just so that it fits. Looks like we need to adjust here a little. That looks pretty good. Edges over here look pretty good. So I'm just gonna kind of adjust it as we go. The back you don't really need to worry about. It's really the only the part that intersects with the effect itself is what you need to worry about. And now that we have the mask closed on top of the footage, you can actually see that it's doing its job. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually feather this right now so that I can kind of get an idea of what this is gonna look like. So I got like a 30, 40 pixel feather on it right now. And I'm gonna work with the expansion too. I'm gonna expand the mask out just a little bit. And that looks pretty good. So I'm looking at the intersection between the blurred object and the blood in the background is what I'm really paying attention to. So there we go, and we just keep stepping forward. So we just take one step at a time, step forward. You can see that it really missed it on this one. And it doesn't surprise me that that's what happened because it likes sharp, well-defined edges and a lot of contrast in the image. And this really has none of that. The edges are really soft and blurry. There's not a lot of contrast in this shape. It's just a big blob. So we're gonna have to adjust this one pretty much by hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna take this over and kind of adjust this shape, and then I'm gonna go in and select the nodes that I need to select just to make this work the way that it needs to work. And it should be, this one should be relatively simple, shouldn't be too bad. There we go. We'll click off of the shape just to make sure the edges are looking good, and it looks pretty good to me. We'll go ahead and select that mask again. We'll step forward, see if this helps us at all, and it doesn't. So we'll move it by hand. I'm gonna go ahead and move my shape over yet again and make some additional adjustments in just little places to make sure that things are kind of lined up. And the back of the object I'm not too terribly worried about. We probably want to like cinch this up to the edge over there, so I'll just go ahead and do that. It won't really matter because we're not using that side of the bag actively. It's all just one big shape right there, but we'll cinch it up anyway. All right, so that one's pretty much done, and then we're gonna go ahead and track forward again. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and move by hand. So I'm gonna click off and then select the whole mask and go ahead and get this locked in where it needs to be. Okay, so we got a little more work to do on this one because the bag is moving pretty significantly. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust as needed. Looks pretty good. I'm going to do the same thing on the back over here. Just round that shape out a little bit and make sure that all these lines look good. We should be in pretty good shape. Let's just step back and see how things are looking so far. Looks pretty good. Cool. Okay, so we got to continue kind of tracking forward. We don't need to be spot on now because the front part of the bag has crossed the entire chunk of blood. You can see that the blood is kind of come through here on the back. I'll adjust the back here just a little bit just to make sure that we're keeping that shape consistent. Adjust some of this other stuff up out of the way, just so that when we start laying in additional masks, it doesn't get in the way. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and actually just step forward a couple of frames. So now I'm gonna go a couple frames at a time rather than trying to do it frame by frame, because we don't really need the frame by frame anymore. So I'm gonna grab the whole mask. We're just gonna loosely adjust this thing where it needs to go. I'm going to go in and do a little bit of detail work on it just to help it out a little bit in case we want to add more stuff later. And if we did, it would this part of it would just make our jobs a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Looks pretty good. This isn't a bad way to kind of set up complex masks either if you're working on objects that are a little bit more complicated, is to move forward, say 10 to 20 frames at a time, set a keyframe for the mask, move forward 20 frames, set a keyframe, and kind of work it down, right? So you set kind of a broad range of where the mask is going to be over the course of however long your shot is, and then you basically split that in half. So you'd go back and set a keyframe in the middle of that 20 keys. So now you have keyframes every 10 frames, and then you go every 5, and then every 2.5, and then you're down to the single frame area, and you can kind of get an idea of how complex your mask shape needs to be in order to get the mask to work the correct way. So this is looking pretty good. I'm going to move forward a few more frames here, grab the whole mask, and move the whole thing. I'm going to make some slight detail adjustments here just so that the mask is semi-clean. There we go. And a couple over here to these points on the bag. Move forward a few more frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so at that point, we're pretty much done with this mask. So I'm going to take this whole mask and pull it off the screen, and then we'll check it and see how it works. So I might do just one keyframe right here and scoot this up a little bit so that it follows the line of the bag, and that should do just fine for what we need to do. Okay, so there's one mask down. And if we decided to further complicate this by adding more stuff to the wall or whatever, we could come in and refine this mask further and make sure that it works for the whole shot. All right, so then the next thing we need to do is we need to start with the legs. So we're going to add, and I'm going to go ahead and actually name my masks. I'm going to call this one bag. And then as we add additional masks in, we'll name the masks so that we know what mask is what. We don't have to like figure it out by color. We can click on what we need to click on straight away. I do need to do the back end of this, which I just remembered. So let's go ahead and do that too. I'm going to go ahead and just step back a couple frames here. We'll do a general adjustment on this mask. Go in and hit a few of the detail areas like we do. And just make sure that this is kind of where it needs to be. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Adjusting some of my nodes here a little bit just so that they work. And a little bit more here up in the corner, just for giggles. There we go. I think that is, yep, that is the beginning of the shot. So now I'll just step forward a couple frames and adjust as I go. I'll just adjust this mask out a little bit. Fix this. That looks pretty good. We'll step forward another frame, adjust as we go. So it makes sense to kind of do the broad approach where you set kind of keys, the front, back, middle in certain sections, because then the mask is moving forward, moving for you, and you can just make little adjustments on those keys, and you won't have to do tons of big, broad strokes, which is nice. This one looks pretty good. Make just a little adjustment right here, but for the most part this is in pretty good shape. All right, so being said, let's go ahead and take a peek at how this looks as it crosses frames. That looks legit, dude. Yep, looks really good. So I'm pretty happy with that. And this is honestly like the meat and potatoes of visual effects right here. Like this is 90% of what you're going to be doing when you're working on visual effects, unless you're like a 3D person or something like that. Like most of this stuff is laying objects in, making sure that they look accurate to the image, and then adding a whole bunch of masking and roto to it to make it work right. All right, so let's do the leg next. So the leg is basically going to be the same type of deal. I'm going to start right in the middle of the, kind of in the middle of the move. And I'll create a new mask now. So I got my pen tool selected, and I'm just going to kind of create a rough shape around her leg. Making sure that I kind of follow the contours of the object. Looks pretty good. We do want this to overlap a little bit with our previous mask. That's just fine. And then I'm just going to go ahead and bring this whole thing across and close it. So we've got our mask in there now. I'm going to kind of match the same setup that I had before. So I got a 38 pixel feather and a 12 pixel expansion on it. I'm just going to start there and see how it looks. So 38 pixel feather. And then let's just set it to a 12 pixel expansion just for giggles. And if we need to adjust it, we can. And I'm going to name my mask as well. You can do it. I believe in you. Hello. And I can rename one but not the other. What the hell? Now I can't remember how to rename a layer. There we go. All right, leg. I'm going to say front leg on this one because there's one more leg we need to do in the back. All right, so we got our front leg mask all set up and ready to go. We need to go ahead and add a mask path keyframe, and then let's do this in broad strokes like we were talking. So I'm going to move back a few frames. I'm going to move right to about there, and then I'm just going to move the whole mask and make adjustments. So moving the whole mask, and then I'm going to make adjustments. Trying to use as many of the original nodes as possible without going too crazy on editing. There we go. I'm going to scoot a few of these out a little bit. look pretty good, and then we need to go to the front of this as well and adjust this so that it works. Okay, there we go. We'll back it up a few more frames and adjust the whole mask. So I'm going to kind of just go node by node here to make the adjustments that I need to make. That'll work there. Same thing over here, node by node, making it work. Back it up a little more. I'm just going to go right to the beginning of the shot and adjust the whole thing. Pretty close. Now as we move forward, this should be pretty close. Yep, and it really is really close. You can see we got a couple of like basically free keyframes right there, which is good. All right, so here we are. We're going to continue same steps forward. So 1, 2, 3. We'll adjust. And then I'll go in and just go node by node. Pull these down where they need to be. Making sure to kind of adjust handles and things like that so that the curves stay clean. There we go. Oh, wait. Okay, so that's where you start seeing that back leg. So that's one thing we just need to be cognizant of, is that we're doing the front leg, not the back leg. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We'll move this forward again. And we'll adjust hard to see the edge there because it's so blurry. It's pretty close. I mean, as long as those shapes are together, then we should be fine. And this is looking pretty good. Scoot forward a few more frames. Same thing. We'll go ahead and adjust. Move the whole mask. And then we'll go in and we'll work on the individual nodes. And that looks pretty good. And I believe we can move this mask off the edge of the screen because we do not need it anymore at this point. Yeah, we may only need this. Let's see if she crosses. Nope, so she doesn't really cross or step in the blood or anything like that as she comes in. So we'll probably only have this shot, this top layer on for just the section where she crosses. So as soon as that's pretty much the end of the shot right there. So I'm going to go ahead and bracket this top layer off. And now it's only there for what we need it there for. We don't need it there for anything else. All right, so let's go ahead and close this up and just take a peek at how this is looking right now. Looking pretty good. So now the only part we have to do is this back leg. So we'll kind of start right here and we'll work backwards to there, and then we'll work forwards until it's off the screen, and that's the end of our shot. So I'm going to kind of set this leg, this back leg up right here so I can see the whole leg in the shape, and then we'll go ahead and do the same process. So I'll grab the pen tool and start laying in our masks. All right, so we don't need much of this leg, so I'm going to try to keep it simple. Do these little details on the bottom of the leg, and like I said, I'm going a little further on this because we're probably going to change these blood pools out a little bit, so we want to make sure that we cover our butts in case the blood pools go into places where we didn't mask, and then we got to go back and do the whole doggone thing over again, and that's no fun for anyone. Alright, same type of thing. Come all the way up till it meets our second mask, and we should be in good shape. So same thing, I'm going to come in here and go ahead and feather this out. So we had a 38 pixel feather on it before with a 12 pixel expansion. And I want to name my mask as well, so I'm going to call this one back leg. Click OK. And we're going to lay in a keyframe and start working on this thing. So let's go back a few pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go back 4 and move the whole mask. I'm going to kind of set it up for the left-hand side and then just adjust it as I go. Pretty good. And then this can get a little tricky when you have masks crossing masks. It can get a little tough to deal with. One thing that I think would be awesome that Adobe would do is give you the ability to like turn the visibility of a mask on and off. So if it had its own visibility marker, that'd be really helpful. So you just got to kind of get in here and get detailed and make the adjustments and try not to grab the other mask by accident. I know that's kind of a weak way to do it, but it is what it is. So we'll do the best we can with what we have. Okay, that looks pretty good. Any nodes that I don't need to adjust, I'm just not going to bother with at this point. This is all pretty clean over here. It looks pretty good. That looks good for that keyframe, so I'm going to back up a few more. And I think that is about... Yeah, well, we got a little bit more work to do. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grab the whole thing and scoot it over to the left. So one other trick that's kind of handy is if you double click the mask, you can actually rotate the whole thing, right? So like if you had an object that was rotating and you didn't want to have to like physically drag all of those points around the object, you can just adjust the whole thing by just double clicking on it and rotating it. You can also scale it. So if you needed to scale it for some reason, like she's moving towards the camera or moving from the camera away from the camera, so scaling it makes a little bit of sense. So I'm going to go ahead and start with just a scale and rotation and then come in here and make my adjustments to the rest of the mask. Looks pretty good. Cool. Okay, I'm going to back up a few more. And at that point, we really don't need that mask. That's the first frame where we need that mask because our front leg's taking care of the other stuff. So that's going to look pretty good. Let's just double check this and see how things are looking. Looks pretty legit to me. So I'm going to click on that again. We're going to step forward and just make sure that we don't need to make any massive adjustments. I'm looking specifically around the blood pool itself right now just to make sure that my mask is properly set up. And it looks really good, so I'm pretty happy with that. Making some other minor adjustments, stepping forward again. It looks like the work that we did on the front end paid off, so we're going to move forward a little bit more. I'm going to split this key in half and just go in here and adjust this one too, because this is all needs to be pretty frame accurate for what we've got going on in the blood pool down there. So making a few adjustments. Looks pretty good, looks pretty good. Cool, cool. All right, sweet, and we'll keep moving forward. Just checking to make sure that the back edge looks good. Looks pretty good. We can probably set this to 0. Maybe a little adjustment. I'm going to say 6. That's looking good right there. Okay, cool. All right, and we keep pressing forward. So I'm going to move forward a couple keyframes, 2, 3. I'm going to grab the whole object, scoot it over, kind of get it lined up the best I can. It looks like it might behoove us to rotate this just a little bit. So I'm going to rotate the object and just kind of try to pull it into position. And then I'll set that in and go in and adjust again. So I don't know if I said this in the last class, but I did so many hours of this kind of work on our Elijah proof of concept video with the Roto, the terrible blue screen Roto that I worked on. And at first I really hated it, but then I kind of started to like it, which is really weird. You kind of get in this like Zen focused place in your head when you're doing just like adjusting nodes and going through frame by frame. Turn on some really good music and just get in your zone and plow through the stuff. And then once you actually see the shot come to fruition, it actually starts to make you feel a little bit excited, like you're actually making a difference in the image that you're working on. So I used to really not like rotoscoping, and it's not the funnest thing ever, and you kind of got to be in the mood for it. But you know, if you're getting paid to do it, might as well look at it as kind of like a meditation. You know, let's make this thing the best thing we can, and listen to some good music, and you know, do good work and get paid to do what you're good at. All right, cool beans. That looks pretty good. I'm going to move forward a couple frames, and we will adjust the mask accordingly. So I'm going to bring this forward, and it looks like I don't think I'm going to do any rotation adjustments on this one per se. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a bunch of these nodes over on this side and adjust them up so that they work. And maybe a few down here, adjust them up so they work. So it's kind of like drawing a drawing, right? When you draw, at least when the way that I was taught to draw is you draw the big stuff, the big shapes first, and then you work into the details, right? Think about rotoscoping the same way. Work on the big stuff first, and then go in and get it more and more detailed. All right, that's looking pretty good. So let's just scrub this back and forth and see how we're looking. Okay, so we have a mask that's stuck, and it's probably this one. Yup. All right, so one thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our mask is only being used when we need it. So I'm going to actually back up one frame here, and I'm going to take this mask and just slide it off to the left-hand side of the screen. So now what'll happen is when we pop forward, that mask will be right where it needs to be, and we won't have any issue with it crossing the frame. So let's take another look. So it looks like our front legs need a little adjustment right here. So we need to adjust this frame a little bit. Make this work the way that I want it to work. Pretty good. Solid. So there's a little spot right here that looks like it needs a little help on the back leg. I feel like these nodes need to be pulled in just a little bit. It's better. All right. Punch in here a little bit so we can see the whole shot, and we'll just watch this fully rendered, make sure it works for us. Okay, so there's a little bit of a glitch right here. You can see this edge right here where my mouse is has a little bit of a pop on it right there. So I think that's probably our back leg again. Yep. So let's go in our back leg and we'll pop forward 1 frame and we'll just make a rough adjustment on this and that should solve our issue. Let's go ahead and play it back again. Yeah, solid. All right, so you can see that even though we have a static shot, we've got plenty of complexity, and just to make this thing look like a legit blood pool. Looks pretty good. You know, now if we wanted to add streaks and things on the wall up there, we'd have to take our masking a little bit further, but it's in pretty good shape. So paying attention to things like the grain in the image, the blur in the image, the color cast of the image, the tone of the image is all stuff that you just got to be really aware of when you're working on this stuff. The other thing that I'm going to do is, I know this is ungraded, correct? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw an adjustment layer on top of this thing, and we're going to try it with, like, I think they have a Rec 709 codec in here somewhere. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab Lumetri color, and I'm going to throw the Lumetri color on the adjustment layer, and we're going to go into basic correction where it says input LUT. We're going to go ahead and just grab a Rec 709. We'll see what happens if we do an Alexa LUT on it.
They got rid of a lot of the Rec 709 LUTs.
It looks, the Alexa looks a little bit on the dark side. Log C2. Let's try this one. Okay, so this is a little bit better. Everything's not so crushed out on it. So what I'm looking for now, and the reason that I did this, is that we're working on a shot that is ungraded, right? So when we shot all this stuff, we shot it flat. So it doesn't have any color profile. It's got no color correction on it. And the one thing we want to make sure of is that we don't crush all the detail out of our blood pools, right? We want them to actually play. So I'm going to use this Rec 709 as just a rough indicator of what our color grade might look like, right? And you can see that we've just crushed all the detail out of our blood pools when we add that Rec 709 color grade to it. You know, there's things we could do, like we could take and just add that adjustment to the footage only. But my guess is, let's see what happens if we do that. So I'm going to take this Lumetri color grade and I'm going to apply it to both the layers of the Ninja footage. So there we have just the footage is being affected, not the blood pools. But it still, to me, looks like there's not a ton of detail in those blood pools. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to play a little bit with the levels on these to see if we can pull out some of that detail. So I'm going to see if we can lighten these up a little bit. Starts to add a little bit of detail in there. Yeah, that's pretty nice. We don't want to overdo it and make it look cartoony or anything like that. Play this back and see how it looks. Sweet. So we have blood pools that have the inherent reflections from the footage in them, the textures from the footage in them, because they're laid over using blending modes. We've created masks and rotoscoped the foreground so that when she crosses frame, everything looks correct and it looks really nice. This shot is well on its way to being ready to go, which is cool. Let's just go through and make sure that there's no other funky stuffs happening later in the shot. So anything to pay attention to would be like if she steps in the blood, that would add a whole nother level of complexity to anything that we do in this shot and subsequent shots, right? So like if we see her feet, if she's stepped in the blood here, well, we'd probably need to add like bloody footprints in so that we can see that she actually interacted with the blood on the floor. Fortunately, I've set this up so that she doesn't step in the blood, which is good. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So there we go. So then when you give this back to Connor, one thing you'd want to do is you'd want to make sure that you're not using any of the color grading effects that we're adding to this shot. And I'm going to actually turn this on one more time and check it, because most likely what will happen is we will grade this as a completed effect shot. So honestly, when I checked these two shots with Lumetri color, I should have just checked the whole thing the way that I did it with the adjustment layer. So turn the adjustment layer on and adjust the blood pool's levels so that you can make out detail in the blood pool, but it doesn't look cartoony. Let me get right in there at 100% to see what this looks like. Okay, so yep, we got some detail in there with the Rec 709 on it. That looks pretty good. The other thing that I think we probably want to do here is, like, this is supposed to be dried blood, right? So one thing that I think could be effective for us to do is to come in here and pull a little bit of the red saturation out of this stuff so that it doesn't look quite so fresh. So it looks a little bit more like it's dried and gross. You can probably take it even further than that. So now it's looking a little more black, and, you know, honestly, if it'd been there for a little while, it'd probably be a little dusty and crusty and cracked and stuff like that too. We don't need to go quite so far with it. I'm just gonna like toggle. So there's with no hue saturation effect. There's the hue saturation effect. You can see it kind of pulls some of that color out. You could play around with that a little bit, like if you wanted it to maybe project a little bit more brownish. You could play with the hue sliders a little bit to change the colors and make them look a little bit more realistic. So we'll take one more peek at this full res and make sure that we're happy with the way everything's looking. So what do you guys think we could do additionally to this shot to sell it better? Like,
Streaks on the wall.
okay, streaks on the wall. What else?
Like blood rivers, I guess, like little streams of blood coming off like the ground.
Okay.
Kind of spills out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go so far as to like maybe give him some sort of injury, like maybe he got shot, stabbed. We could. I mean, there's some things we can do to kind of help it out. Like we could put, you know, maybe blood drips on his arms or something like that, on his feet, you know, things like that. Maybe like drips on his feet that actually curl around the contours of his feet to really help sell the idea that he sat there and bled on the floor. Unfortunately, I mean, if we want to do those things, now that we got the masks all set up, we can kind of go gangbusters with it and make it work. The stuff on the wall, we might need to go back in and do a little bit more masking work on the top part of the frame just to make sure that all that stuff masks out correctly. But those are the kinds of things you want to be looking at as you're working on these shots, going like, how can I make this as realistic as possible? Because right now it just looks like we've flopped a couple of bloody splatters underneath there, right? So it's those little tiny details that are going to make all the difference in terms of making the shot look like a completed shot. Go ahead.
What kind of weapon is it?
Right. That's the stuff you want to think about.
Well, that for later on, the later on shots of that is, if you make like a crazy like wound, then it would be like, oh, when they do like shoot the visual effect shot of like the gun, you can kind of go crazy with that. Like it could be like futuristic gun where it's like a pulse rifle or something where.
And it might not even have been that futuristic gun. It could have been.
Or just a gun.
It could have been a stab wound. It could have been. I mean, there's a million different things. Like in the subsequent DW shot, like we could get crazy. Like when she lifts the head up, like we could add a giant slit throat to it. Like there's all kinds of ways that we could take this to make it look legit, right? And then, usually there's a little give and take with these shots. So it's important that when we're working on this stuff that we're communicating, that the director says, this is what I want, and then the VFX people go ahead and knock that out. But then not only are, if one person's handling one shot and one person's handling the other shot, that they're talking with each other and they're going, okay, I'm doing this in my shot. What are you doing in your shot? Let's make sure that they're going to cut well together. Right? So the talking back and forth a little bit and making sure that everybody's on the same page is really important. So when we go into the next shot, which is, this one, where we see DW's face, like, what injuries does he have? Maybe his eyeballs got torn out. I don't know what that looks like yet, right? We don't know. We haven't made those decisions. But just, keep that stuff in mind. It's the little details that make all the difference. So adding things like blood to the bottom of his feet, adding drips, adding blood that's run over his feet, maybe blood on his hands, maybe the charm is covered in blood too. There's all kinds of little nitty-gritty details that are going to help sell this shot and make it better. Maybe he pulled himself in on the floor over here and there's a streak of blood leading to where he finally sat down and decided he wanted to die. We don't know what that looks like. So we can kind of help to tell the story of what happened to this guy by just thinking about what details we want inside the visual effects shots. Cool. Well, let's save this. Sure.
Could we make it even creepier by having a dried blood message written behind him?
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Deja vu, bitch. Karn sucks. that would actually be really funny. And if we decide that there's things like that we want to do, some of that stuff we might want to shoot ourselves. It's one thing to pull elements from Rampant or Video Copilot or wherever that happens to be. But if it's something like Karn sucks, well, then what we need to do is we need to get ourselves some red food coloring and some Hershey's chocolate syrup and a white piece of tag board and actually take our fingers and draw Karn sucks on that. Light it up real good, shoot it in high res, bring it in, plop it in the background, and you've got a custom built element that is organic and looks good and fits what you're trying to do in your shots. And this is what movies do, this stuff all the time when they're shooting for visual effects. It's like they need certain elements, they'll just create the elements and shoot the elements themselves so that they have a bespoke thing that can go right in, and it's not just some off-the-shelf deal from Video Copilot or Rampant Design or whatever. And that's honestly a really good way to go. Had we had more budget and more time, stuff like adding the blood pools under him, I would have bought the little blood pool things that you can just lay down on the floor. We could have smeared blood on the wall too and been like, all right, let's just put a bunch of blood on your back, have you hit the wall and slide down, and we've got our look, right? So obviously we could have done this practically, but we don't have the option because we're low on budget and we're low on time. So doing it in post, makes sense for what we're doing. But always be thinking about that. Number one, how can you do it? If you can do it practically, if it's cost effective, then you should go for it because it's always going to look better. But if you're doing it in post, what are the little things that you can do to really help sell it? Like if we needed to create our own blood effects and drags and, elements to throw in there, then that's something we can think about doing next semester as well as we kind of flesh this project out and get it a little further. I think it's a great opportunity to learn about how to do that stuff the right way. And it's honestly not terribly difficult. Little red food coloring, a Hershey's chocolate syrup, a white piece of tag board, and a DSLR and a light. That's pretty much all you need to start making your own blood effects. You get a couple pieces of tag board, then you can start throwing drips and doing all kinds of things like that and taking all those elements and adding them into your shots. Okay, that one's done. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so the next shot we are going to work on is the reveal of DW's dead face. So let's see what you actually have in the cut. Sweet. Okay, so back it up a little bit and let's just look at the head fully tilted up for me. All right, so what can we do to make this look disgusting? What do you guys think? Pale his face. What else?
Gouged out eye.
I don't know if we'll go that far.
Bloody eyes, maybe.
But so one thing that does happen to your eyes is if you've been dead for a while is you actually lose the color in your eyes. So like the browns of his eyes, we can white them out, basically make them look like a dead fish eye. If you've ever seen an old nasty looking fish with gross eyes, grays, that if you can tell a fresh fish from a not fresh fish by looking at their eyes. If their eyes are cloudy, they've been sitting around for a while. So making his eyes more cloudy. The other thing that happens to dead bodies when they sit for a while is what? Decompose, but it starts with an R. Does anybody know the word? Rigor mortis. So rigor mortis is when your blood settles in your veins and you lose the oxygen in your blood. It seeps out of your blood, so your veins start to show through your skin, right? So that's another thing that we could do is we could play with his eyes, play with his skin tone, play with the veins in his face, and see what we can do to make all that stuff work. The veins are going to be tough because his head actually rotates in 3D, right? So figuring out where the center of rotation on his head is and making all those assets rotate properly on his face would be pretty challenging. Go ahead, Sean.
Mocha would work pretty good with that for a planar track. There's a video pilot tutorial where it shows how to do that, and it adds 3D elements into someone's face, so that's an option.
Cool. So we'll start this with some of the easier pieces. So color grading, the skin tone, taking care of the like graying the eyes out, making the eyes look disgusting. We can blue his lips too. We can take all the color out of his lips and make them look more blue. There's a lot of stuff that we can do. The veins are going to be a little tricky, but I have other ideas about how we can do that too. There's some we could do some motion tracking work on him a little bit to help kind of motion track some stuff onto his face so that it moves with his face properly. So we'll get it in there and we'll look at it and we'll see what all we can do with it. And it looks like the transfer is about 2/3 of the way done. So pause. All right, so here we have DW's head reveal. So DW is supposed to be dead, and we want to make him look deader. He looks kind of dead right now, but we're going to do a few things to this to help him look more dead. So we're going to work on making his lips look more blue. We're going to work on taking the browns of his eyes and glossing those over a little bit, taking some saturation out of that so that he looks really dead. And we'll get started. I think let's start with the eyes first. So let's kind of take a look at what we're going to be dealing with here. Let's see if I can set this up so that that's better. Now we can actually see stuff. All right. So we've got a few challenges to deal with in that we've got shadows playing here. So we'll probably use blending modes again like we did with the blood on his eyes to help the shadows and stuff play. Obviously, his head is moving and the shot is moving, so we have some motion tracking that we need to do to make all of this work correctly. So I'm thinking probably the best course of action would be to bring this into Mocha and track what we want to track for the eyes in Mocha, because Mocha's a little bit better at tracking some of this stuff than After Effects is. So let's give that a shot, shall we? Now, Mocha on your machines is going to look different than my machines. And there's a way to put it into Classic. So if we need to stop and figure that out real quick, we can. So first of all, let's just save this. So we've got the project open. We got stuff in it. And then let's go ahead and say track in Mocha AE. So in 2019, when you say track in Mocha AE, it should pop the plugin open right inside of After Effects for you now. Whereas in 2018 and previous versions, it actually opens a separate program, which you can see right here, that allows you to work inside of Mocha. So I'm going to say register later, and then it's going to ask me to save my shot. So this is another thing that we should do when we're giving Connor shots, is we should be saving any of the Mocha stuff we do. That should all get saved into this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this folder, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I'm going to say DW head reveal _ Mocha. And I might want to add track in there. All right. And it looks like we have the entire shot. So there's 1,000 frames in this shot, but that's okay. We're only gonna be working on the small section that we need to work on. Okay, so we're in Mocha, and we can start getting started here. So let's see, stuff to know about Mocha. The Mocha AE version that you have now in 2019 is a little bit more user-friendly and more streamlined interface, so it should be pretty easy. If there's a way to get it into the classic view if you want to look at it in classic, but we need to start creating some Mocha shapes so that we can control what's going on with DW's eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So I'm holding Z to zoom in on the shot. And we're going to just start with some roto shapes. So do we want to do just the pupils or do we want to do the whole eye?
Whole eye would be pretty cool.
Whole eye?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with the whole eye, and if we think we need to take it further than that, we can come in and track the pupils afterwards. So we'll start with the whole eye. So right away, the thing that you're going to do mostly in Mocha is you're going to come in and you're going to create some splines to go around your stuff. I'm going to use the Bezier spline so that I can make nice curves around his eye and make this all work really nicely. And I'm going to try to go like incorporate some of these more red fleshy areas in too, to make sure we get a nice clean look all the way around the eye. I'm even going to punch in a little further here. All right, so we'll start in the corner and just kind of work our way out. So this Bezier tool works almost the same as After Effects' selection tool. I'm going to back up a little bit here. I'm going to try to use as few nodes as possible to make this work. And you can come in and you can control the handles and stuff on these too, very much like we do inside of After Effects. And I believe you can make them independent. There we go. And you hold Command to make the node an independent node. So we're going to kind of adjust this a little bit so that it goes right where we want it to go, and we make sure we're getting all the pieces that we want to get. Looks pretty good. Can't even tell if I've closed the loop over here, and I have not. All right, so then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to adjust some things. Zoom out a little bit. Hold Command to adjust. It's all looking pretty good. Okay, there we go. All right, so you'll notice down here on the timeline that we have a green keyframe. So Mocha is pretty cool in the fact that like it is a really good planar tracker. It tracks to fortunately it's got a lot of contrast with it, so we're probably going to get a really solid track. This is a great way to create masks and really solid tracks inside of After Effects. So we're just going to start stepping through the shot. I think what we'll do is we'll track backwards, and then we'll come back to our starting frame, which is 739, and then we'll track forwards from there, and we'll go in and we'll adjust keyframes as we need to. So I'm just going to start tracking backwards. And then if I see places where it starts to kind of lose the track, I'm just going to come in and adjust slightly. Okay. Start tracking again. Looks pretty good. Just kind of go frame by frame here. Zoom out a little bit. So you can adjust multiple multiple points just as you do in After Effects as well. So you can see it's. Ooh, oh, I fucked up. There we go. All right. So I'm going to take these nodes and kind of move them around a little bit and get this to work a little better. So the other nice thing that Mocha does that After Effects doesn't do is every time you add a keyframe, it takes that keyframe data into account on all the frames in the entire piece, right? So it looks at your keyframes and it will adjust the in-betweens depending on what you did on the keyframe that you set, which is really nice. Whereas After Effects doesn't do that. It basically is like it's this frame here and this frame here, and it just moves everything straight across to where it's supposed to go. Or where it thinks it's supposed to go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I don't need this bounding box. Just gonna check. Make sure we're in good shape. It looks pretty good to me. We're gonna keep on cruising. That's having a little trouble in the corner over here. I'm going to try to lay this back down where it needs to be. Okay. This probably needs to get pulled down a little bit too. There we go. We'll keep on cruising. Needs a little bit of adjustment over here. Okay, eye's getting pretty thin now. Now it's getting kind of hard to tell where the boundaries of the eye actually are. Can't tell if it's way up there. Shit. So it looks like his eyebrow kind of starts to cross the line in there. Oh, I forgot there's a way to zoom in on the timeline, and I can't remember what the hell it is. Hey, Marpy, will you look up how to zoom in on Mocha AE timeline for me? That's one thing I hope they fixed in the new version of Mocha is they make it so that you can
brackets, plus minus, okay.
I already tried that. It just zoomed the image in and out.
Interesting.
Unless you have to be on the time. No. Same dealio. Okay, so looks like the eye is still kind of there, but we got the brow kind of coming in. Across the eye right there. I'm just going to move a bunch of these out of the way to see where this actually is sitting. Looks like it's pretty close. We'll take a few steps back. That is probably his whole eyebrow, isn't it? It's really hard to see. Okay, so that is his eyebrow in front. Oh yeah, it's all in shadow too, so it's super hard to define where the shit is at. Okay. So I'm going to track backwards from here because I think this is the most accurate version that I have. Okay, so I was doing a little bit of I was erasing some of the previous keys that I'd created because, like I said, when it's looking at keyframes, it looks at both what you've already done and what has come before when it adjusts the in-betweens. And because I had a keyframe, 5 to 10 frames in here, I couldn't really. It was making all those adjustments like the white of the eye up here, which isn't really the white of the eye. Did you figure it out?
Kind of. It's weird. Is you set your in and out point down here with these, and then you click. I think it's one of.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Okay, handy.
Yep.
Sweet. Zoom timeline in and out points. Excellent. Okay, so now we can actually see the keys, which is nice. All right. The keyframes tell you which way you're tracking, too. So you'll notice that they're like half diamonds. So it's telling you that you're tracking backwards. And then when we track forwards over here, they should point forward. Handy to know, I guess. Looking pretty good. So I'm still struggling with where the line of the eyebrow is. This spot to me, this still looks like the white of the eye. Does this look like the white of the eye to you guys? Okay. So I'm going to go and just delete a couple of these keys so that we have kind of a clean spot to start with here. Okay, so right about here is where we need to adjust things. Okay, I think we're doing okay. We'll find out. All right, we'll keep going, tracking backwards a little bit here. Whoa, hey now. Whoa, hey now. What did I do? How did I do that? I can't even really tell what is eye and what is eyebrow anymore. It's just one big gray blob. Right, still just moving in here and adjusting nodes as need be. I should have made way less nodes over here in the corner when I started. That was a mistake on my part. Keep it simple, stupid is real, for real.
I think you might have that on your gravestone, Todd.
Keep it simple, stupid.
No doubt.
Yeah, probably. I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna tell my wife that's what I want. Words to live by, y'all. Words to live by. All right, almost there. Looks pretty good. We'll thin that out a little bit here at the end. So I'm just going to select the whole thing, scoot this down just a little bit, and then just kind of thin this out a little. Poop. These nodes are so close together. Okay, then we'll just kind of roll through it and check it. Looks, oh, you see, I don't know, this is a tough one because it's really hard to see when you're in close what the shit actually looks like. All right, so we'll kind of roll forward and just make sure that, I mean, the fortunate thing about this is we don't really need much of the effect down here where we start. Where we're going to start seeing it is probably right about here. And then by the time the eye is fully up, it's really easy to know where we need to be. All right, so now we can begin tracking forward. So I'm just going to let her go and see what happens.
Oh, man.
Pretty good. So we need a little bit of adjusting here.
The left side of that. From our perspective.
Cool. Track forward a little bit more, make sure that we're happy. Add one keyframe here at the end and just make sure everything's buttoned up nice and tidy. Groovy. Okay, so the nice thing to note is that when we scroll back here, all those adjustments that we made on this key are made in all these in-betweens. Which is why I love Mocha, but we're going to make one more adjustment right here. And I think we need to adjust a little here as well. Okay, so that should be pretty good. All right, so one thing you're going to want to do, just like what we were doing with the masked layers in After Effects, is you're going to want to name your shit. So like left eye hole is probably a good way to start. I did write Y, right? Okay, good. All right, and we're going to save this right now. Mocha is not perfect, so it can crash both your After Effects project and Mocha itself. So make sure you're saving your Mocha stuff, and then when you bring the data back into After Effects, make sure you're saving there as well. All right, so we have the eye is pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do to get this over to After Effects is I'm going to say export shape data. Mocha shape for data for AE for the selected layer, which is left eye hole. And I'm going to say copy to clipboard. And then I should be able to tab back over to After Effects. Make sure you are on the first frame and paste. And paste. Okay, let's see. I think you might need to do a solid here. I forget how this works exactly, but we'll figure it out. Left eye hole. And, oh, that is not the right size. Let's go try that again. No, that is not what we want to do. All right, new, solid, make, comp size, left, eye, hole. Okay, paste. Okay, blend mode's on multiply, shape cutout is set. Oh, fuck. This is what I was afraid of. Shit. Okay, so there's some other... This is again, why the new plugin is so much better than the old one. So there's all kinds of little idiosyncrasies with Mocha that really suck. All right. So the thing we need to do is we need to make sure that our solid that we're using is the same size as the original footage. So it needs to be 3840 by 2160. Right, so we're going to say layer, new, solid, and then instead of make comp size, we're going to say 3840 by 2160. We're going to click OK. That's still, so did you scale yours up a little bit?
Yep.
To make it work?
Yeah, so I can get the camera out of the shot also, or the shadow camera on his face.
So 107%.
Yep, 107.
Okay, now hopefully we're in Happy Town here. Okay, shape cutout. Color cut shape. The opacity. Oh, it keyframed the opacity. Oh my god, I gotta remember how the hell to do this the right way. Okay, so give me a second. We're gonna go back over and check some stuff. So the other thing that I think it's doing, and this is again one of the just fucking nightmares with this, is it's looking at the entire file, right? So it's looking at the 1,000 frames that are in the original Ninja file. So let's bring this in here, drop it on its own timeline. And let's just paste this in. Call it a color shape cutout. And then, nope, we gotta back up here a little bit. I could have sworn you could just paste it in as a shape layer. Maybe I did this wrong. Give me just a second here, guys and gals. Export shape data. What objects do I have? Selected layer, copy to clipboard, save. Okay. It's been a long time since I've had to monkey with this stuff. All right, let's try this again.
Oh, there we go. Noise. Super creepy.
It's creepy with one eye.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, at least it's working. So this is, like I said, this version of Mocha is full of little idiosyncrasies, and I had to deal with this crap all the time on my Elijah special effects stuff. But we can make it work. So I did just paste it right in on the layer of video itself. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find where this needs to be. So we'll find the first frame, and there it is. Find the first frame, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and slide it all the way over to the left, and we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it, and it pasted it in a funny place too, so that's fun. Let's just do this. Let's go like this. We'll just make this, shut this off, Shut this off. We don't need the white solid. We don't need this. We're going to duplicate this, and then we're going to get rid of the mocha shape. So we have video. Now both videos are in the proper place, proper orientation.
What happened to the position of the...
Yeah, the position's going to have to just get redone because of the way that the workflow of this works. It's really convoluted. All right, so we have the two layers. So we actually have the eye left hole, which if we solo should just be the eye itself. Okay, I am incorrect. I deleted it. All right. Back up a little here. Okay, so the top layer we want to be the eye. The bottom layer we want to be the original footage. Orig and eye left hole. Okay. So this one we're going to turn the mocha shape off so that we have the original shot. I'm going to go ahead and link this to the original footage so we can use the original footage to position. So I'm going to go ahead and say original footage position. I should probably just wait on this. So if I do the right eye, I want all this stuff to be in the same position, right? That makes sense. And if that's the case, what we can do is we can duplicate the eye left hole, duplicate it, delete this mocha shape, and paste the new one on top. And then you'll have the right side. So you can kind of, once you get this crap all set up, you can kind of work from what you've already created. Okay, so we have the left eye hole. Let's play with this and see if it's doing stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with levels, and we're going to see what happens. So left eye hole, let's make his eye black.
Bloody red.
Is it actually lined up? It doesn't look like it's lined up right. And I wonder if that's my fault. Probably is. So let's just... it looks like the mask is off. Let's go back over here to Mocha and see if I fucked something up. Doesn't look like I fucked anything up. Yeah, it's straight up like, well, there it's right there, and then it gets off again. Weird. Man, that don't make no sense. Oh, wait. I wonder if it's because I did this. No. What the deuce, yo? Oh, joy, 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 down in my heart. Whoa, I don't know what I just did. All right. I'm a little confused, but we'll see if we can figure this out. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to go export shape data. That's all I got. Selected layer, left eye hole, copy to the clipboard. Then I'm going to go back over here. In the original footage, just gonna delete this and try this again, see what happens. Okay, that looks right, I think. Not creepy. Not creepy at all. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong. I might have just moved some stuff or touched something, but I screwed something up. Okay, but at least we kind of got it figured out now, which is good. I'm going to go back and... Oh, now I've got all kinds of opacity stuff happening too.
You want to just uncheck the keyframe on the opacity?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Uncheck it. Set it to 100%. See if it changes. There we go. Okay. So there's our out. And we'll find our in, which I think is right around here somewhere. Here's our in, and let's bring this over and try this one more time. Copy it. Delete the left eye hole. Paste this over the top. Make sure their positions are correct. Solo this and make sure this turned out the right way. And it looks like it did. Very good. Okay, now we're on the right track, finally. Okay, so we can start playing around with what this looks like a little bit. So I started with levels. If we want to just like gloss his eye out, that might be a way we can do it. Other things that we could do, we could pull the saturation too. That's one thing we could do. So let's try that out. So we'll take some of the sats out. Yeah, it's just making it black and white. Add some lightness to it, a little bit of lightness to it. And the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to soften the edges on this a little bit. If we can. This might be one of those things where we go like this. It says shape cutout. We do color composite. So now it's just a white layer. Alright, so you guys remember what we were doing, a track matting. So if we want to be able to soften the edges of this mask a little bit, I believe you can do this stuff in Mocha. You can soften the edges a little bit in Mocha. But we want to be able to do it here. So I'm going to kind of get rid of some of these color corrections that we've done. Now we've got just a bright white eye over the top. We're going to set this to 100% opacity. Okay, keep that where it is. There we go. So we want to use this as a matte. Fit. So we shut that off. There we go. We've got this. Now what we can do is we can duplicate the original footage, and we're going to say eye effects. And we're going to use this as a matte to go over the top. And I'm going to pre-compose this straight away because I know we're going to be bringing in the next eye. So when we bring the next eye in, we can add that into the matte and we can continue working. So as I move all attributes and adjust composition, which it's going to do for me, we'll run back over to the other one and we're going to track matte this. So we're going to say alpha matte. I'm going to shut this background off and make sure this is actually working. Luma matte. Okay, there we go. So now we got just the eye that we want. And it's doing that shit again. What the fuck did I do? What changed? For crying out loud. So at this point, now I'm sitting here hating myself for doing this in Mocha because it's so convoluted that it makes it almost ineffective. Okay. Okay, so we still have the Mocha shape. It's in the right place. Is it though? I don't even know what I did. Like, it's all off now. What changed?
It looks like there's two, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. It was lined up when we started. See, now it's lined back up again. Like, what did I change? I don't even know what I changed. This is going to be such a great lecture video. It's going to be awesome. All right, so we got our left eye. Now it's back. It's lined up where it's supposed to be. The thing is I don't know what I did wrong. Like, that's what I'm struggling with here. Okay. Unless I don't know if maybe I touched something or moved something or changed something. Blend load still multiply. Let's go. Still good, still good. Okay. So now I'm thinking, like, workflow wise, that it would probably be better to just do this on the original footage. Like, if you're going to track stuff in Mocha, work on the original clip. Do it all on the original clip and then cut it down to what you need for your time code at the end, instead of trying to bring it in a composition that isn't the size of the original footage and then try to get all this stuff to scale right, because it's super sketchy in terms of what you're actually going to get at the end. Okay, so I'm going to say shape cutout, and we're going to try this again. All right, we have the eye. We can do it. And there it is. Now it's different. See? All I did was change render type, and now it's all wonky. What's up,
I
Joe?
noticed that when you changed the render type, the frames jumped a little bit.
They did?
What if you do it to both videos, the original and just the that?
Okay, lined up.
I watched the render this time. See, it jumped a little bit.
What the F, dude? Don't make no sense. Yeah, and then we set it back, and it's like... It's like the position changed on it. That's so weird. Okay.
It only works when it feels like.
I'm feeling like I'm failing right now, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And,
I'm doing the best I can. I have done this before, and it has worked. But my gosh, this many problems. I mean, that should not change everything to change the... Wait a second.
Are they slightly offset?
We're going to figure this shit out. They look right now, don't they?
yep.
Oh, you don't have the other one with invisible.
No, they're not right. I think they were off by like three frames. Okay, so can I do shape cutout now without the world falling apart? Yay! Okay, finally. So, let's see if we can muck around with this a little bit and find out what we can do with this this data. Perspective, there's a whole bunch of left eye hole data in there. I was hoping to see some... I wonder if we... Alright, I'm just going to move forward. Okay. So now we can actually adjust the eyeball. Can make it gross and disgusting. Can play around with some of the hues and saturations.
Very milky.
Yup, just subtle. And then I would probably fade this on, so I'd go something like set the opacity to 0. And as this lifts up, I don't know. I think that we need to be able to compartmentalize these effects a little bit more, which is why I was trying to make the matte work, but now that I know I was off by a frame, that changes everything. Alright, let's try this again. We're going to go full 100%. We're going to get rid of levels. We're going to get rid of hue saturation. We're going to change this to a color shape cutout. And we're going to use this as a matte. Duplicate the original footage. Drop that down below. No track matte. Alright. Groovy. Does it look off again? It looks off again. Oh, I'm going to...
Are you just super paranoid?